Hi, girls and boys. Welcome back to our next science lesson. This is our second last science lesson for this term and our last one of some more heavy learning. Now, we have been gradually touching upon a lot of different stuff related to microorganisms, and you guys have already learned quite a bit about them. But today we're going to be talking more in depth about viruses. Now, viruses are a little bit more interesting in some ways than the others because there's some debate as to whether we can really call them a microorganism. Remember, when we talk about a microorganism, we're talking about a microscopic, super small, microscopic living creature type thing. So when we say that, microorganisms are, viruses are microscopic, but there's some debate over that term because viruses aren't really living, but they're not really dead either. They're somewhere in between. Okay? So that's why I've left viruses for the end. They're an important thing for us to touch on at this point, but just be aware that there is some debate over whether we can really call them microorganisms just because they're not really alive, but they're not dead either. You'll see what I mean. Okay, so on this first page here of our Google slide today, I've got a little definition I've written here for you, okay? And I've said viruses are microscopic parasites. Okay, now let's look at this first part of it here. Microscopic parasites. Now, microscopic, we know what that means. It means extremely small. We need a microscope to see it. And the word parasites. Now, parasites are something that feed or live off another living creature. Okay, for an extended period of time, they would attach themselves in some way and feed off them. Now, for example, if we looked at something like a mosquito lands on us and will suck our blood and will feed off us, but they only do it for a moment. Okay, parasites are like that, but they stay there and keep feeding for a longer period of time. So they really sort of live off us. That's where they get our food, or live off other animals or other creatures. Okay, so parasites are going to attach themselves to in some way and feed off them. I'll give you an example here. Where is it? Here we go. This is a tick. This is not a microorganisms. Ticks are big enough you can see them. You know, you can see them on your hand. I've had ticks myself in the past in Queensland, out in the country. We'd get ticks. Now, ticks will bite into something, like they bite like our cows or our dogs or even people, and then they sort of dig into your skin a little bit and just start sucking the blood. Okay, and they can stay there for ages because they do it very slowly and carefully, so you don't always notice until eventually it gets itchy and sore and the tick has sucked up enough blood. It'll then eventually drop off you. Some ticks can be quite dangerous though. One of our cows, when I was younger, got a tick, and there's some types of ticks called paralysis, which means the creatures can't move, and our cow actually fell down the creek and it actually killed it. So ticks can be quite dangerous, but they are a parasite. They suck and live off something else. Okay, so when we say a virus is a microscopic parasite, it's a parasite in a bit like a tick, but so small that we need a microscope to see it. Okay, now it says they're generally much smaller than bacteria. We've learned about a few different kinds of bacteria, okay, and they're much smaller than that. Okay, and then last part here, they lack the capacity to thrive. I'm going to actually say, by this what it means is they don't do well. They can survive for a bit in between it, but they can't grow and reproduce until they find a host body to grow from. Okay, so a tick won't be able to do anything until it gets on something else, starts sucking their blood, and then uses that as food to grow and eventually have more babies, things like that. Okay, so viruses need to attach themselves to something else. Okay, now that we understand that, and we look at these types of viruses, we're going to have a bit of a better understanding of how viruses are very different to bacteria. Bacteria can survive on their own. They just need food, water, warmth, things like that, the right temperatures. Okay, they can survive and they're all whole on their own. Viruses can't do anything until they invade something else, like a piece of bacteria, and then they can use that bacteria to grow and spread. I'll give you an example. Um, I've got some types of viruses here, and I've listed the coronavirus up first because I'm going to use that as an example first, and I've got a few other ones afterwards. Okay? Now, I purposely haven't put pictures to these because I'm going to get you guys to put pictures for them soon. But I'm going to take one here, this bacteriophage here. Okay, the bacteriophage, I've got a little, where are you? This one here. Okay, I've got a little diagram here to explain this one a little bit more. Okay, now bacteriophages look like these funny little spider things. You guys can find a better picture of it soon. Okay, but this bacteriophage, while it looks like some sort of weird alien, what it actually is, it's actually sort of this little things with legs, and it's got like a little straw or like a little needle that it can attach and sort of inject this. See this little blue stuff at the top of it? That's its DNA. That's like its instructions. Okay? So what it does, a bacteriophage will attach itself onto something else, like that this is a bacteria, like another microorganism. It attaches onto it. Here's it's sort of its skin there, and it gets on, and it'll inject in its DNA. Okay? So it's putting his instructions inside the bacteria. And so now the bacteria will start to follow the virus's instructions instead of its own. Okay? And so what those instructions tell it to do is make more viruses. So then the bacteria, instead of doing its own proper job, it starts doing the virus's job of making more. And see, it makes more and more, like this. And eventually, all those new bacteriophage viruses will then get their own set of instructions inside the little head part of them. Okay, so now all of these are ready. Then they will all burst out and go and infect new ones of their own. And then this one will go infect another bacteria, that one will go infect another bacteria, that one does that as well. So you can see it didn't actually grow and have its own babies, so to speak. Instead, it invaded this bacteria and told the bacteria to do the job for it, and then spread like that. Okay? And that's why when we talk about viruses, we sometimes use that term for things like computers. Now, computer viruses are nothing to do with this type of virus. They're completely different, okay? But a computer virus has got that name because it can't do anything unless it gets into someone's computer and starts doing the damage, okay? If a virus gets into a computer and starts doing damage, it's fine. But if you've got a virus on a little USB stick, it can't do anything. It needs to get into something, either through the internet, like you downloaded it, or it comes in an email or in a dodgy app. Once it gets into your computer, then it can cause damage. Just like this. This bacteriophage can't do anything until it gets into a living cell, okay? Like this bacteria cell, and then it does the damage, and it ends up killing the cell in order to make lots of its own, okay? So computer viruses and real life viruses, two totally different things, but we use the same word because they still have a relationship in how they function, I guess. Okay, now let's go back to our sheet here. Now that was the bacteriophage. I'm going to show you guys what your task is for today. Now I've got a bunch of empty slides after this here. Okay, what I want you guys to do is just get some pictures of these different types of viruses. Now, areas of viruses is something that people go to university and study for years and years and years. So we're not going to be able to learn all there is to know about it. We're just a little introduction. I'm going to use the coronavirus. I'm going to do this one for you. Okay. Now, the reason I haven't just written coronavirus, I've instead written coronavirus microorganism. Because when you Google this, I don't want people searching up the viruses themselves where you can see maybe pictures of people sick or things like that. That is not what this is about. We're looking at the science of microorganisms. So instead, you can actually copy my whole part, copy coronavirus and microorganisms, or copy bacteriophage microorganisms. So then we actually get a picture of the microorganism, not of sick animals or something like that. Okay, so I'm going to copy a part here. I will go into Google. I'll paste in coronavirus microorganism. And when I go to images, I will then get pictures of the microorganism. Okay, you can actually see some bacteriophages there as well. That's a different one. But I'm going to get a picture of a coronavirus microorganism. Let's see one that I think will be all right. Okay, let's get this one here. Okay, once you've got that, I'll just copy it, copy the image, and paste it into the first one here. Paste. Okay, and I'll put my title up there. Get it from here. Control C. There we go. All right, I'll just center this up, make it look a little bit nicer, get rid of my dot, and put it in the center. There we go. I've done the first one. All I want you to do is just get a picture of the microorganism. Okay, we don't need to worry about its symptoms or anything like that. I'll do a little brief run through because I know some of you will be curious. Obviously, you know about coronavirus. Bacteriophages actually attack other bacteria. They don't directly attack humans. In fact, mostly they don't hurt us at all. Okay, because it can't really affect humans, but they actually are a very, very common microorganism. Okay. Ebola virus is actually quite a dangerous virus, a very dangerous one that there has been some outbreaks in the past, and it can cause people to be very, very sick. Okay, or cause diarrhea and other organs to stop functioning properly, and it can be quite dangerous. HIV, you may have heard of. HIV actually attacks people's immune system. Basically, we've got things in our body that help keep us safe. And HIV is a virus that actually attacks the things that help keep us safe. And so once people infected with HIV can lead towards another thing called AIDS, which actually stops people from stops their body from getting better from things like colds. So things like a cold could be very dangerous to someone who had that condition. Okay. Influenza is a viruses that are types of like a flu virus. Okay, so there are lots of different types of influenza viruses, but they're like the flu. Okay, a virus we get that have a nasty cold, maybe a cough, maybe feel sick or vomity, and we'd have to stay home for a bit until we got better. Okay, and last of all here, the adenovirus microorganisms are another one that can be quite nasty, but I put in there because it looks a little bit different to the other ones. Okay, so I've got a few different viruses that look a bit different. Okay, so once you've put the pictures of the organisms, the microorganisms of these different viruses, okay, I know you guys will have some questions about how does your body actually defend against bacterial viruses. Now, we have actually learned the other lessons about protecting our body against bacteria infections. If a bad bacteria got into us, we can take antibiotics to stop that bacteria and get better. And that's great. Okay, but how does our body defend against viruses? Because we don't have any medicine for viruses. Okay, there is no cure for a virus. Like if you get the flu or you get a cold virus and you go to the doctor can't give you any medicine that will fix it. They can give you medicine to help you feel a bit better, but it won't fix you. It might take your headache away or help your nose not be as runny, but it can't fix you. So if we have no medicine to stop viruses, okay, then how do we get better? Do we all just die? No, we don't. Our body actually has something that takes care of viruses for us. And that's why most people, even almost like the vast majority of the people that even get coronavirus, get better because their bodies fix it themselves. Okay? How does this happen? It happens with something called an immune system. Now, the immune system is a very big topic all on its own, so I'm not going to go into too much depth about that now. But I have actually included a video here that if you'd like some more information about how the immune system works, then you can click on this. Now, this video is going to be too advanced, but it will still give you an idea. Okay? There are different ways that our body protects itself against virus. So if you finish this task early, remember you have half an hour. If you finish this task earlier, watch that video and actually write down here maybe something you've learned, just what you managed to understand. Okay, there are 3 different ways that our body protects us in that video, and you can also maybe even heard of some of the main words. But one of the things that I will point out, I will show you, is part of our immune system comes in our white blood cells, and they actually travel through our body and attack and eat. Well, not really eat, but pretty much. They can attack and eat and destroy viruses and bacteria that are in our bodies. And I've actually got a video of one here on a microscope. I will show you. I'll turn my sound off here so it doesn't get too loud there. Okay. Now, in this case, you can see this sludgy stuff here and all these little bits here. That was the bacteria. And this cell actually came through and just ate up that bad bacteria. Okay? Now, these are called, the white blood cells here are called macrophages, and they sort of travel through your body looking for bacteria or viruses or things that don't belong, and they attack them and they kill them. So we want these things in our body because they will keep us safe and destroy viruses or things that get into you. Because when some bacteria comes into us, it releases this little stuff that tells your immune system where they are. And so then they track it down and will kill the virus for you. There are other ways it does it too. They can use these things to block off certain surfaces and stuff like that. The other video will have lots more information. But eventually, once it captures one of the viruses, it breaks it down and rips it up. Okay? And that's why when we talk about staying healthy, a big part of staying healthy and eating well and getting enough sleep is so that your body has a strong immune system. If you have a strong immune system, then your body will have lots of those things like the white blood cells to attack and kill viruses and bacteria. That's why you might see some people might get better much faster than other person, or some people don't get sick as much because they've got a better immune system and their body will attack and kill viruses quite easily. So I'll just put the start of this on again here. You can see all these little bits of bacteria here. Okay, it's a bit different for how viruses work because the viruses would invade them and then it would destroy it. But it's same general concept. And you'll see this stuff down here come through and it'll actually devour and eat this bacteria and kill it and keep your body safe. Okay, see, it just comes through and it takes care of them, gets rid of them. Okay, pretty interesting. Now, that's obviously a very simplistic explanation. Watch that other video if you'd like a more detailed explanation. But boys and girls, that's the short answer. We can't cure viruses, but our body can fight them off if we have a healthy immune system, which is good. Okay, which is also why viruses are more dangerous for people who are, say, very old, because very old people, their immune system isn't as strong. Okay, so that's why it's extra important that we are taking the steps we are to try and keep elderly people safe from nasty viruses. Okay. Well, boys and girls, I imagine you might have quite a few questions after this lesson, but it's already gone quite a while. So please shoot me some questions if you'd like. I'll be online at 11 o'clock today, 11 a.m. So if you would like to, jump on and feel free to ask me some questions. I'll do the best I can. Like I said, it's a huge topic. And so we're just scratching the surface of it today. But hopefully you've learned a few things here. And remember, just write down a little explanation here as how does your body defend against viruses? And you can just use some of the things I just said there. Okay, boys and girls, I will leave that at that. I hope you guys have found this lesson interesting. I certainly think it is. So I will talk to you guys next week for your last week of science on this topic. All right, guys, catch you next time.